Victoria Cross, Ward 4 candidate for Windsor City Council. My co-host today is Ryan Turchiniak, St. Clair College student here to also, he's going to co-host. He's going to break up the student issues, so that's going to be a good thing that we're going to do today. Thank you for being here today, Victoria. How's, first thing, how is it going for you out there as we're getting down to the wire?
Oh, I'm having such a wonderful time. I'm meeting so many Windsorites and Ward 4ites. It is just the most interesting ward with the most interesting people, and I've been just canvassing my feet off and talking to everyone. As a matter of fact, before I came here today, when you called for the reminder, I was on someone's front porch, so we were having a great talk about how we could make the transit system better here in Windsor, and how we could also encourage more ecological tourism.
Okay, and that segues right into here. Launch the question, Ryan.
Right into me. So, as a college student, some people live in Ward 4, go through Ward 4 to come to the school, whatever, and getting on transit system, some might not have accessibility to it. How would you say to improve that?
Well, there's no magic wand about the transit system, because it means a shift in consciousness in a number of areas. Right. However, I've been on the Handy Transit Board for 8 years, and that's specialized transit service. But it does give me a window on how the transit system works. There are so many points about this. The first one I want to make is we have to look at what I call a synthetic or integrated transit system that looks at all different types of transit. And yes, moving between the two major campuses in Windsor for St. Clair College students is very difficult, just simply by how the routes work. We need to think a little more carefully about our bus routes, and we need to think about how we can improve the service.
Right.
I mean, I've waited for a bus out at St. Clair College on the main campus, and I know how difficult it can be, especially with traffic along here on Church and things like that. Just to get to class on time is sometimes all but impossible. And it puts real pressure on people who are trying to do co-ops, people who are trying to, balance part-time jobs and studying. So yes, that's one of the areas where we have to link up and make sure that we have the services that students need to get back and forth and around. I mean, we have managed to improve the transportation along University Avenue, and that I think has made a difference already for students, but there's a lot more we can do.
Have you built in strategy, strategy-wise or in long-term thinking, okay, and trying to, not fix it, but try to blend in or get the county involved at getting people, you got two things going on. You have students coming in and out. You also have the workforce coming in and out in some cases to where they have the industrial zones. They're outside the limits. So is that something that's coming up?
It's coming up at the door, particularly when we're talking about making sure that people can get to the industrial park areas. The Windsor, one of the things I keep hearing is that the run that goes out to the Old Castle Industrial Park is fine for getting to the day shift and fine for getting to the afternoon shift. But if the afternoon shift has to work overtime, there's no way home. And we need to think about how people really live and not how we want to imagine that they live, especially in a 24/7 town that now, it was 24/7 work, but now we're also 24/7 also always looking for work or trying to balance 2 or 3 different jobs, and trying to get around the city, get to work on time is very difficult for students. And that's why I'm sure our transit system got an F rating by the Windsor Foundation. So we have to rethink. If fewer and fewer people are having 2, 3, and 4 car families, wage rates are dropping, benefit rates are dropping. We have to think about how we are going to live in the context of what's really happening in this community.
Yes, because that comes down to, and I'm going to say some of the reports that have been in the area news, I was just going to call it the area news, and it's regards to, they're saying they have all these wonderful jobs all over the place, but a barrier can be that I don't have a car, or I can't afford a car. Okay, I need that job to buy that car, but I can't buy that, because I can't get that job, I can't buy that car. That's the scenario that seems to be working in the Windsor area now. A car or an automobile tends to be a luxury for some of our younger families and some of other families that might had tough times over the last few years since the economic downturn.
Absolutely. So we have to think about how a transportation system can function using a variety of tools. How we can encourage carpooling, for example. How we can make sure that if people choose to use a bicycle as a primary form of transportation, that when they go to park and lock their bike, it doesn't just take a guy with a pair of clippers to walk away with
Yes.
the useful form of transportation. We need to think about how people can get to major places. I mean, without having to pay taxi fares, though taxis are also part of the transportation system. We need to balance all these different means and methods with a far more integrated view. And that was, again, that comes up at the doors all the time.
Really, yeah, no, very surprising. Very surprising. Sometimes you just think it's like, what are some of the other issues? Like I would say, in most areas is infrastructure, flooding. Although my streets are bad, but the transit one is definitely popping up now that people are recognizing that.
People are recognizing it because, again, with our 3-shift, 24-hour-a-day kind of life and work, people are cobbling together means of getting to work and getting their children to jobs or their families to medical appointments. Handy Transit, for example, has had an increase in ridership in some areas because, again, with the way schedules work and trying to get people back and forth, it's very difficult to make sure that someone in a family does it. So we have to look at the whole picture of persons. Other issues that are coming up, I mean, when you're at the door, you can hear everything from sewage systems to solar systems to dog park regulations. But the main issues that I'm hearing from people are centered around quality of life issues for families, parks, recreation, making sure that there's a sweetness in life that's within walking distance, and art and things like that. There's a sense that the city's losing purpose as a place for growing and staying.
Okay, yeah, that's and exactly kind of fit into the next set of questions as far are people commenting that part of that is because, honestly, we're still roughly around 9% unemployment. Are they saying we want we want not just jobs, but we want good jobs?
Good jobs, good pay.
They feel that's lacking, or?
Absolutely, and they're very scared for their children. People are, Ward 4 is probably the most complex ward in the city. It has some of the most privileged people in the city. It also has some of the most economically
What's the
challenged
borders?
people.
Explain the borders. Like, where are you taking me from?
Riverside Drive to the railroad tracks and Howard to Walker.
Howard to, oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, yeah, you're right.
So you're full of all sorts of people in ages, stages, and conditions of life. But you never know what you're going to see behind any door. I mean, the stories I've heard from people in neighborhoods that would appear far more stable and well-to-do than others match the stories I hear in neighborhoods that are really struggling. Because, again, we have to deal with aging population, lower pensions, lower benefits. We have to deal with children who can't find full-time jobs. I met a 78-year-old woman the other day whose son moved in with his 2 sons, divorce in the family, and the man was making $16 an hour at doing overtime, but couldn't keep a house together with his 2 teenage sons. So now he's moved in with his 78-year-old mother, and she's back to cooking for 3 hungry men. And she showed me that she had worked in a factory all her life, and her arthritis is going, and I don't know what's going to happen to my son and my grandson. So there are worries there, but you wouldn't have known it by just looking at the front door, freshly painted, and the garden is spotless. You wouldn't have known that this family was in serious struggle and pain.
And that's a transition, and that's a huge transition. I think that everybody's missing.
Right.
Okay, you're not seeing that part of it. They just think it's how it was 20 years ago. And if you, for example, if you ran into marital issues, you got a divorce, you moved here and I moved there, and life just went on. No, it's a struggle to maintain your to keep up any type of standard of living or normal standard of living. So you're falling back on your parents.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's the women who tell me. I talk to a lot of women at the doors, again, in all stages and ages of life, but it's the women who are trying and bearing a lot of the pressure of trying to keep their families together and balancing everybody and everything, and making sure that there's still the birthday party for someone who's turning 16, and yet making sure that the car gets repaired and the dog gets to the vet, and
Right.
all the little insults of life build up on people, and I hear about it.
Okay, so in saying that, and we have the issues, and a lot of people are talking about the issues, do you get a sense or do you get a feel, are they going to come out and vote?
I think so. Ward 4, again, complex place. It's an exciting election for Ward 4. With Alan retiring, people have a lot of choice in who to elect. I believe I can speak on behalf of the whole range of people and issues in the ward most effectively, and balance all those different issues. Oh, the other thing that everybody wants to talk about are taxes, of course.
Okay, and
Yeah.
taxes, in what way does it, because of the way they've been drumming, has to be a tax freeze? Do they understand? How are they talking about that? Or what questions are they asking around taxes?
I think people are really frustrated with the level of discussion on taxes. It's not enough to sit and shout back and forth in the media or not, tax this person, don't tax this person, let's give this class of taxpayers a break, let's give this corporation free something and not have any real jobs promises attached. People are tired of that. People want to get together and think about taxes, but they don't know who to believe anymore. And so I've been telling people that my view is that we all need to take a deep breath and pull together a fair tax commission. A fair tax commission where we can participate together, counselors, administrators, maybe some experts, but with a panel of people from all walks of life in this city to review our tax situation from top to bottom, inside and out. There have been all kinds of promises made to pay things forward. The federal government's downloading, the provincial government's downloading. Rubber hits the road on the city. How can we deal with all these different demands on the city itself, on one another, and sort this out effectively? I don't think we've had a really good review of the tax system in a very, very long time, and it's time to stop all the shouting and start dealing with knowledge and learning about what we have.
Okay, so a fair tax commission, is this a new concept, or does it come from something we've used in the past, or are other municipalities using it? Like where?
There are other municipalities that are using this in in progressive communities. Toronto has one, Ottawa has one, Seattle, Washington in the States has one, Chicago has one, because all of these places are dealing with various taxation issues and loss of tax base. And we need to think through, what is it we want a city to do? What is it we want from our city, and how are we together going to do this? Again, it's not a magic wand. It's not, it's not gonna make things change overnight, but it means that we as a community can figure it out together. And I meet so many smart Windsorites, so many people with ideas and with a sense of real commitment to the city and wanting to make it work better, knowing that their own lives may have to change, or that they themselves might have to sacrifice something for the greater good. And I see it every day.
Okay. What are they saying? What are they saying at the door in regards to? Okay, like we had a few councillors retire, and we have some new energy running in almost every ward. Okay, what are they saying about that? Are they using? And I don't want to do this to you, but the rookie, okay, motif, or are they saying no? We need that. What are they saying? What are they saying looking forward to after the election, regardless of who gets in?
I think people are looking for a sense of change, but we're also very careful people here in Windsor. We want things to be done right and well. So one of the things that I'm hearing at the door a lot is experience and education. Experience and education. What's your experience? What's your education? What do you bring to the table? Now, I don't think people are looking for fresh faces just for the sake of a fresh face. I think people are looking to pull together what they see as a council that will make sense. I keep telling everyone, a ward councillor has a very large role, or can have a very large role, in contributing to how the city is run. And that, in choosing a mayor and a council candidate, it's very important to think through carefully what you expect from this city. I'm hearing that in Ward 4 they want someone who's forceful,
Okay.
and who's been around a while, and who's ready to step up and ask the tough questions. And because they're used to that with Alan. And Alan has great respect throughout the ward.
Oh, very good. Okay.
He was also an excellent constituency person.
Okay.
He answered all his emails and knocked on doors and would canvass.
So he actually, believe it or not, at the end of the day, Alan has fairly large shoes to fill going
Absolutely.
forward. Whoever's going to try to take his place, okay, really has something or have a plan and do what not do what he did, do it their own flavor.
Right.
Okay, but the constituents' expectations
are very high.
Yes.
Very high. It was early on in the campaign. I announced in August. I was the last one in, right?
Right.
And I was early on. I didn't even have literature. I was going around with sort of a Xerox thing, paper reproduction, or whatever word we're supposed to use, and knocked on a door in the street, and a man said, "So, you want to replace Alan? Well, you better come out here and look at my alley." And I said, "Sure, I'll come look at your alley." And he said, "Alan comes around every couple of months just to see how my alley's doing."
Okay.
And I said, "I'll see you in a couple of months."
Oh, very good.
And sure enough, I went and looked at his alley, and I ended up making some calls and dealing with some issues that had popped up in this neighborhood with an abandoned house.
Okay.
So,
Okay, very good. And that brings me, like you were talking about, I'm not going to talk about the cost of election, but one of the issues that was popping up, and I'm not talking about the damaging of signs, how it was brought out that signs will help you win. Do you see that? Do you believe that? Do you have to get out there? Do you think the name recognition for yourself is so important?
Well, I'm pleased to report that I've always had fairly decent recognition at the doors, even before my signs. I didn't get my signs until last week, and
Oh, wow.
they're already gone, most of them. But name recognition does matter. Signs do help, but signs don't vote. So it's a strategic and tactical question from a campaign point of view. Like I have instructed all my campaign people that, a sign belongs to a house and people in it. It doesn't, just go stuck up in some corner someplace. Just because
It carries more weight, more value.
Well,
yeah.
to me it does. It
Yeah.
means that someone has made a commitment to support me.
Right.
And before I put the sign there. Some people like to be a little bit facetious and put up 2 or 3 signs, but or they know everyone. I mean, that's the other thing with municipal campaigns. I know all the other candidates. All the other candidates know me. We all have many friends and acquaintances in common one way or another. I mean, Windsor is already a place where there's only 1 degree of separation. But when you're talking about people who all live in a ward, I mean, one candidate lives around the bend from me, another one lives, 10 doors away in another direction, and then, we see each other.
One happy neighborhood.
It's a one big neighborhood.
Oh, very good. Okay. So what do you, I'm saying, going to tell the voters, but you tell the voters what you see your role is as a new councillor, and what your role is going to be, and how you are going to work with the new council going forward, regardless of who gets in. Like, how do you see, what's your vision for yourself?
In my role in the
Yeah.
council? Well, I think there's a couple of things that I bring to that table. One is I don't mince words, and I will be very direct and open about what I'm looking for or interested in on a topic. That's a good way to start with a fair conversation. I also see that I can work very effectively with a variety, and work in a variety of ways. I mean, sometimes you got to pound the table, and other times you go out and have a coffee and sort it out. I've got a little experience.
Without joking.
It's platinum, folks. It's really natural platinum. But I've got experience in dealing with people. I mean, having worked as a lawyer for a long time, having, worked in other political arenas, there are many ways to deal with an issue. What was that? How many ways can a rabbit get around a fence? Around, above, underneath, all kinds.
Through
of
after a
issues.
couple tries, eh?
Yeah, through. So I have no specific. I mean, I'm not going on to council because I want to promote a certain area of Ward 4. I'm not going because I care the most about one element or another. I like to think of myself as a generalist with lots of experience in lots of areas. You want to talk about sewers? I taught environmental law for engineers. If you want to talk about the relationship with the federal government, I taught constitutional law, and I've worked with a federal member of parliament. If you want to talk about dealing with the province, done that too. You want to talk about social services, done that too. I bring that experience and the knowledge that I think can help bring a team together.
Okay.
Is there some place around Ward 4 like that you would want to see improve? Like, I don't know, a park or like construction areas on Wyandotte that's still happening right now. Like, what do you see that you really want to improve? Like, I know you just talked about the sewers recently, and like you said, the other things, but what do you really want to see? Like, I don't know, job-wise or community area-wise or healthcare for elderly people. Like,
Well, one of my big concerns
what's
is,
your big concern?
is what's going to happen with the mega hospital site.
Mega.
Ward 4,
Has that been one of the sites, potential site selections is in Ward 4 or not?
well, we don't know.
Oh,
because
they're still
those-
playing. That's right, they're still playing. Okay.
The site selection committee has received 20 sites. The city put in for a site out by the airport.
Right.
Out-migration of jobs and out-migration of tax base from Ward 4 is a serious issue. If we want to infill this city, if we want people moving back in,
Yes.
you don't move major facilities out to the outskirts of the city and then push. I mean, developers have been running how the city makes its development decisions for far too long, and it's constantly pushing things outward. What we need to do is make sure that we infill.
Right.
And you don't take a major employer out of the ward or near the ward, and that just affects all the health and allied workers that live and pay taxes in Ward 4. That affects all the people who have come to be able to depend on that body of people being in the ward for their small businesses. It can be disastrous. I mean, I met with the president of the Ottawa Street BIA, and he and I spoke along with the Citizens for Camp, it's called, the people that are worried about where the hospital would be sited. And we all spoke at City Council at the last meeting about our concerns about this. Now again, that's something that requires dealing with all sorts of other levels and interests in this city to sort out. But hey, you know, this is Ward 4, and that's one of my big concerns.
How many BIAs would you have to be working with in Ward 4? We got Ottawa Street.
There's Ottawa Street, there's the folks in Old Walkerville.
Okay.
Yeah, and Tecumseh Road doesn't have a BIA. I know one of the other candidates has talked about setting up a BIA for Tecumseh Road. That's a possibility, but one of the things that would be interesting is actually even considering expanding the Ottawa Street BIA as well.
Okay.
Because there are now a group of businesses that are sort of going down toward the market, and the only reason that BIA has that boundary is because Wyeth Industries used to be where that old market is, and you know, Wyeth Industries really didn't want to be part of a BIA for when they were, you know, a major pharmaceutical company. They were involved in other things.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Okay.
but now that's not the case, and the Market Square is out of that BIA. So that's one of the things that we've been talking about.
Okay. Okay, so you know what, I'm going to have to say thank you very much. You know, this has been very, very informative for myself and for Ryan, and we're going to be able to listen to you and having you answer our questions today on the Convergence Report. But today, it is over. Thank you very much for watching, and do check us out on our YouTube channel at Knockstream 1. And again, we now live stream directly through YouTube, so please, if you want to see it again, just go straight to YouTube and watch us again. Mike Thomas, Ryan Turchiniak, interviewing Victoria Cross, Ward 4 candidate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And don't forget to vote on October 27th.
There you go.